After that Cardinals loss, I'm conflicted.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, a lot of emotions coursed through probably all of our veins in the 60 minutes that made up the Giants-Cardinals game that just finished. I'm recording this right after the game, posting it right away. If you've been around Locked On Cardinals for a while, first of all, thank you for being an everydayer. If you haven't, the first show after football Sunday or Thursday or Saturday is a just raw reaction show. Okay. Tuesday will be kind of a, all right, let's kind of rewatch what we saw, go more in depth about it. This will be a little bit more surface, a little bit more bigger picture. And you'll hopefully learn to like them or already do on Mondays, even though this is going to be put up on Sunday. So Cardinals lose 31-28. And I don't know if I've ever been more excited after a loss while hosting this podcast for the last, 6 seasons than I am today. I don't know if I've ever been more excited doing sports radio for 12 years in Phoenix after a loss like I am today. Cardinals are 2-0 in my eyes. And they're 2-0, not like, oh, yeah, this is delusional. What did I set myself up for by listening or watching this podcast and this guy's big dumb face? What we saw in week 1 was a level up, was a growth spurt, was a shift. And what we saw in week 2 was a perfectly run offense in the first half. Yeah, Joshua Dobbs looked great, aside from the one terrible throw he made or attempted to Zach Ertz down the sideline when he was wide open. He looked great. He looked great. He had command of the offense. I have a feeling that Kyle Brandt's going to feature him on Angry Runs tomorrow. Good Morning Football. But the offense did in the first half what the defense did in the first half last week. And for that, I give it a win today. What happened in the second half, it wasn't like, oh no, I cannot believe that this happened. A better team came in and just ran roughshod all over the Cardinals' inferior defense and secondary primarily. It's not a surprise, but you've got to go, and I'm not going to tell you how to think. You're an adult or a child growing up, and you can think on your own. I'm not going to tell you what to think. I think that you've got to see that as just a massive victory. And these aren't moral victories. The Cardinals lost. If they would have won, this would have been kind of the same podcast, just without the open about them losing. It's irrespective of if the Cardinals score more points than the other team or not at the end of a game in the 2023 season, you're going to be looking for takeaways. You're going to be looking for things that this foundation will be built upon for the future. You're going to be looking for players making plays. You're going to be looking for players coming out of nowhere and really putting their flag in the ground like, hey, I'm a part of this team for the future. Dennis Gardeck, 3 sacks through 2 weeks. Prime example. I was kind of out on him. He had that a couple years back, that insane snap to sack percentage. I think it was like 33% of the time he was on the field, he was getting a sack. Like it was something insane like that. Very small sample size, obviously. But you're looking for positive takeaways that you can hopefully snowball into the next week. And we saw those today. Joshua Dobbs looked great in the first half. Adjustments made in the second half by Brian Dable and Wink Martindale over there. And, the Giants they're just a better team. But what I took away from today was Drew Petzing's offense is a big boy, adult NFL offense. And it's going to be so fun when Kyler Murray comes back to run it. There's going to be so much less pressure on Kyler Murray just to go make something happen. Wide receivers were open. Tight ends were open. James Conner had running lanes that we haven't seen in some time. The offense is an NFL offense run by an offensive coordinator whose job is to coordinate the offense, not be the head coach of the team. The defense looked fine in spots, especially in the first half. Jalen Thompson interception off the tip drill from Saquon Barkley's just forgetting how to use his hands, I think is a definition of what happened there. Kasir White had a nice pop there too. BJ Ojulari, second round pick, had the pressure on Daniel Jones on that play. It was just the defense looked good also. And grading on a curve because the defense got lit up, especially the corners and safeties in the second half. The Cardinals aren't supposed to be blanking opponents this year in any half. This is part of the process, is building out this roster. The defense was, for the most part, an afterthought this offseason, aside from bringing back Budda Baker, obviously, who didn't play today, bringing Kasir White, who's looked good except for his bad hit against Sam Howell. He seems to, he knows this defense. He was in Philly last year. The corners just don't. Marco Wilson had a bad day. Kentrell Clark had a bad day. Had a couple spot looks where he's like, yep, this dude, but he's a sixth-round pick. Like, there's no reason why Kentrell Clark should be second on any depth chart right now. He's a rookie. But the Cardinals, they're reaping what they've sowed with the cornerback room and just being completely indifferent to it over the last handful of years, and it's being exposed now. You can't bring an entire roster a complete level up in one offseason when the players left that they did and the roster was how it was at the end of last season. This is the most excited I've ever been after a loss for the Arizona Cardinals because things look different. Where are things that need to be improved upon? Even though we are on this curve grading scale, I guess, as it were, there are some things that need to be fixed. I'll hit that next as we roll on here. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by LinkedIn. So for those that have listened to this podcast for a while, thank you, first off. Second of all, you know that I have a soft spot for LinkedIn. I've utilized LinkedIn myriad times over the course of my job searching, life. And I know how important and impactful it can be. And, these days, new potential hires can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. And you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, okay? They help you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So you make a post, you add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. You can use simple tools like screening questions that make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience. You can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And that's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates that you want to talk to faster and making sure they're qualified. Okay. Go to LinkedIn.com LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And this episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Love me some Prize Picks also. Okay. Prize Picks is the most fun I've had, winning up to 25 times my money this football season. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less in their projected stats, and place your entry. Okay. You can make these selections in less than 60 seconds. Their quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. They offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value. Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this entire football season. Okay, so listen. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. I am Alex Clancy. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, turn notifications on, hit a subscribe, leave a comment if you'd like, leave a like on the video. I'm just here to hang out, man, talk some Cardinals, and won't sugarcoat things when they don't need to be or shouldn't be. I will give upside when there is one, but I like to treat people like adults and talk about what's actually happening. So, with that, Cardinals lose 31-28. Quick stats here before getting into things that need to be improved. James Conner, the belle of the ball today. If you can run the ball, it's a beautiful thing. Now, 23 for 106 at a touchdown. He had, but this is the thing with James Conner. If you use him as much as they did today, he has a higher probability of getting roughed up, of getting injured. Okay, so this is the thing. This is the issue that we experienced with the Cardinals in 2021 when they started 7-0 and 10-2. Was they just rode James Conner, ended up getting hurt, and at this point in his career, especially if you want to bring him back next year, and he seems to be completely ingratiated with the fan base, the team. He's an Arizona Cardinal. Okay, it can't be 25 touches a game. It just can't be. And this is the tough part for this season where it's like, well, that's what's working. So you go back to what's working. Yes. And you've got to preserve your star running back. You've got to preserve him. And I've talked a lot about him in the past where moving forward, like starting next year, he has no guaranteed money on his contract. I'm assuming that they're going to figure it out and they're going to bring him back. And if they do, they would be smart to, especially with this offense with Drew Petzing. I feel like that would be a chief priority next offseason, is you've got to make him a 50-50 or even a 60-40 in the 40% role. Become more of the LeGarrette Blount, the bruiser, the guy when you need yards, you bring him in, but not an every down back. They need to bring somebody in who can carry that load between the 20s. But what we saw today was prime 2021 James Conner. And it was great because it makes everybody else's job easy. Now, Josh Dobbs, 21 for 31, 228 and a touchdown. Didn't get sacked. No turnovers. So he was able to move a little bit more today. Couple keys to victory that I talked about. 1, don't turn the ball over. And 2, Josh Dobbs needs to get out of the pocket quicker. He's got to get out. And he did. He used his legs. He's got some giddy up. He ran over safety for a touchdown in the first half. Like he looked good. He looked good. And I joked and I said on Twitter, I told you that Josh Dobbs should be starting instead of Clayton Tune, because that's what I've said the whole time, right? So I'll take that L, but we'll see. It's still TBD. Played very well today. Didn't play well last week. Made some massive adjustments. Got another week under his belt with this offense and this player personnel, and looked good. Wide receivers, Michael Wilson led the team with receiving 56 yards on 3 receptions. Zach Ertz is still the favorite target of Joshua Dobbs. Hollywood Brown, 6 for 54 and a wide open touchdown. Trey McBride got involved. So he was spraying it around. Now, the big thing for me here, the big stat for me is the penalties. 8 for 57. Now, while it's not an egregious number, that's almost 200 yards in penalties in the first 2 weeks. Those are just what's happened. And you can't give up almost the football field to NFL teams and hope to win. Elijah Wilkerson had 2 not so great false starts, back-to-back plays in the fourth quarter when the Cardinals were trying to drive. This is just reps. I don't think these are dumb penalties like we've seen over the last couple of years, and sure, that could be subjective. Absolutely. You could use it. Well, this is exactly what Cliff Kingsbury, Jonathan Gannon doesn't have control over the team. If you think that this is the same as that, I ain't got nothing for you. These are reps, young players making bad decisions. It's just going to be a lot of that. Having said that, I mean, you could give a kudos to Gannon and Rallis and Petzing because they had less than half the penalty yards this week they did last week. I don't know if that's something that anybody would entertain. It's just a factual statement that they, 80 less penalty yards, 70 less penalty yards, but that's a number that it's not sustainable if you want to build and grow away from what things have been. So that's the biggest number for me. I mean, there were some big time plays down the field in the second half. Jalen Hyatt looks like a baller, rookie wide receiver for the Giants. And then this one, I talked about this on the Friday show. This is something that's as consistent as gravity. The Cardinals can't defend tight ends. Luckily, Darren Waller didn't get in the end zone, 6 for 76. But I said that Darren Waller was way more scary to me than Saquon Barkley. Because at least Saquon Barkley you keep in front of you. Darren Waller just had a stretch there for 2.5 quarters where he was open every time the ball was thrown to him. He was just wide open. And he didn't get in the end zone, but it's just something that needs to get fixed. Darren Waller is one of the best tight ends in the league, but still. Same thing, different year. Again, all in all, I'm more excited today after a loss for the Arizona Cardinals than I have been after any loss in the 12 years that I've been doing sports radio here and podcasting in Phoenix. Overall thoughts. It's going to be a positive one. These little wins throughout the year. These little wins. And these aren't, again, for anti-moral victory guy. These aren't moral victories. These are victories for a rebuilding team that is not needed to be directly correlated to a win or a loss after a game. It's just a shift. It's just a shift in thought process, and it's a necessary one for the 2023 season. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Love me some FanDuel also. I do. In all actuality, in all factual nature, I do. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, I feel like you're going to be a fan of FanDuel here in a sec. New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. New customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. This app is so easy to use, right? There's a wide range of betting options like spreads, player props, over-unders, more. I mean, they've got everything you need over there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Cardinals lose 31-28 in not so fun fashion going into halftime the way they did. The takeaways from today ended after the kickoff of the second half. What we saw in the first half was everything going right. And with this roster, everything going right is quite the feat. And that's not even close to a knock on the skill position players on the offensive side of the ball for sure, because they've got some ballers still. The offensive line looked okay. The interior of the offensive line, Froholt seems to be a Rodney Hudson fine. You're not missing Rodney Hudson. Paris Johnson Jr. looked okay. PJ Humphries looked fine. No sacks on Joshua Dobbs. That's a win. But when everything goes right after what the offense looked like last week, you take it. This is like the preseason. Pretty much is for Joshua Dobbs. Getting acclimated, spraying the ball around, it's good. This is a good situation to be in. And this isn't because the Cardinals lost. Oh, good. They still have, inside track to the number 1 overall pick. That's a byproduct. But something I'm going to be talking about a lot after games, if it continues to, rear its beautiful head, is this team is different. Jonathan Gannon has this team in a different mindset. Nick Rawlis has this defense in a different mindset. Drew Petzing has this offense in a different mindset. It's just different, and it's awesome. It just is. Houston did lose today as well. They had a mini comeback against Indy, but box check there. Tampa Bay won again. Box check there. I'm going to be watching throughout. 2 weeks already gone. It's unbelievable. It's not fair. I want to start over again. Even if it's the same thing, just wipe my brain. Just Men in Black, flashy thing me. So, in summation, if I'm giving a speech in high school, got to cut down on the penalties. Joshua Dobbs looked, not even the same person compared to last week. He had control over the offense last week, but he didn't play well. He had control over the offense this week, and he played well. A lot of that was thanks to James Conner and his performance, which is thanks to the offensive line, building those gaps for him. The defense came out with the fervor and angst that they did last week. The second half, if the Cardinals go 3 and out a couple different times and the defense has to come back on the field with a quick turnaround, it ain't going to be pretty this year, especially with Budda Baker not playing. It's just not going to be pretty. So you need, what I'm training my brain to do is take away the positives that you haven't seen in a while. They may look different, but this offense is a positive, what we saw today. The fact that it sputtered in the second half, it's Joshua Dobbs isn't a traditional starting caliber quarterback. He looked great in the first half, and that's a win because the offense works when it's run properly. When everybody does their job, it's run properly. That's what it could look like. Imagine what it'll look like with Kyler Murray. The Cardinals could have put up a 50-burger on the Giants if Kyler Murray was playing quarterback today. They left points on the field in the first half. So when we're having these conversations about growth and culture building and foundation strengthening, all these things, like my own cliches that I've made for myself because I talk about them so much, taking away little positives, even though they lose, is what's going to... These are going to be themes that we're going to be experiencing, hopefully, in perpetuity. Imagine this team with another offseason of talent infusion and another draft. Budda Baker healthy. Garrett Williams hopefully comes and plays soon. Michael Wilson continues to get better. Kyler Murray. Cardinals can be cooking. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. I will talk to you on Tuesday.